Good morning. It's great to see you here this morning. And we're still doing these children's times on the internet, so of course I can't shake hands, so let's see how many remember. Wonderful. Did you remember? Peace be with you. That's great. Now, the story that I've got for you today comes from the Bible, and it comes when some of the people still haven't heard and they still aren't sure about Jesus being alive. And it starts with two of the disciples being very, very sad. And I wonder if you can sort of act out the story with me. And if you can put the device down, if you're holding it in your hands, I'm just going to show the disciples, and they're walking and they're very sad. And they're just walking. And there's two of them because they're talking to each other. Because the truth is that when you're sad, it's not good to keep it all inside. So they were talking, trying to sort out what had gone on, because they'd been around Jerusalem and Jesus had been arrested and he died and buried, and they're very sad, hadn't heard the good news. And so they were just walking, and they were so sad. And as they were walking, a third person joined them. And it was Jesus, who was alive again, but they didn't recognize him for some reason. And the risen Jesus said to them, "What are you talking about?" And they stopped. And the Bible said they were just so sad. And they said, "Are you the only one who doesn't know the terrible things that have been happening?" And they went on to explain to Jesus how they hoped in what Jesus had said and done, and then when he'd been arrested and betrayed and when he died, they didn't have any hope anymore. And they were so sad. And Jesus walked with them for a while, and I imagine they were all walking fairly slowly. And then Jesus started to talk to them. And he talked to them not just about what had gone on, but he was talking to them about the Bible and what the Bible said, and God's promises to be with us, and how God's grace and love are stronger than everything else. And I think at this point, they started to walk a little more normally, not kind of sad, because they were talking to each other. And it was starting to get dark, and they got to where they were supposed to go. And it looked like the risen Jesus was going to keep going. And they said, "Oh no, it's late. Come on in with us. Come on in with us." So Jesus came in, and they sat down for a meal, and Jesus took bread, and as soon as he broke it, that's when they realized who it was. And the Bible tells us at that point, Jesus disappeared. And the two disciples started talking to each other, and it was so different than before, because remember, before they were so sad and upset. And now they had hope, and they believed that God was at work and something wonderful could be happening in their world. And so they were talking to each other, and they were so excited, and they said, "You know what? When Jesus was talking to us, it's like our hearts were on fire. They were burning. It was just wonderful." And so you know what they decided? They decided that they were going to run all the way back to Jerusalem to tell the other disciples. And they did just that. And when they got back, all the other disciples had said, "Jesus was alive, and we've seen him, and we've talked to him, and Peter has." And the two disciples shared what they experienced as well. Now, I know that a lot of us are probably got some sadness in our lives. There are things that are happening that make us sad, and the truth is, it's sad when we can't go to school and we can't see the people we want to see, and it's hard. And so sometimes we're like the disciples at the very start of the story, being very sad, and we don't have much energy. And there's two things for us to remember when we're sad. The first is to find somebody to talk to about our sadness. And that doesn't mean they take the sadness away, but you know what? When we can tell a friend or a parent or somebody we trust, somebody who's safe, then the fact is that we can feel a little better with our sadness. And the other thing our story tells us is that we should pray about it. We should talk to God. And we should always listen for the promises of God. Because Jesus promises that we'll never be left alone in our sadness. And Jesus is there sometimes to give us the hug that we need, and sometimes to remind us that even when things seem really, really bad, that there are good things that God can bring about. Now, as always, there's some crafts and things for you to do underneath. Thanks to Bronwyn and family, thanks to May, and then there's also the coloring pages, thanks to Illustrated Ministry. I'm going to invite you to have a look at those and to do them as you would like. And before we finish, though, why don't we join all of our hearts together and pray as Jesus taught. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. I want you to go and have a good week, and I hope to see you here next week. Take care, and God